Welcome back to AgriTalk at the National Ethanol Conference. One of the real pioneers of this, the ethanol industry, is Ron Miller. Has been very involved with the ethanol industry over the years and great leadership in this organization, the Renewable Fuels Association. He's now managing director for Prisma Advisors, working with a lot of different folks in the ethanol industry, advising them on different aspects, and also working also on that next generation of biofuels and some of the, whether we're talking algae or waste or whatever it might be in producing ethanol. So an interesting perspective from the early days of corn-based ethanol to the future of cellulosic ethanol. Ron, thanks for being with us. Of course, you're based in Pekin, Illinois, been very involved in the ethanol industry over the years, and you've been recognized here with the RFA Membership Award and for your outstanding years of leadership. You've seen this industry grow from some farmers getting together and let's get an ethanol plant to what it's become now. I mean, we talk a lot about the challenges that the industry faces, and there are many, but there's been a lot of successes, a lot of victories over the years.
Oh, it's just been incredible. I know when I first started in 1981, my job length was supposed to be about 3 years because we weren't sure ethanol was going to last longer than 3 years back then, and yet we've grown through some difficult times, low oil prices, couple of wars, where we need more ethanol, and then now with the renewable standard and the environmental aspects, it's just been incredible. I mean, today we're basically 10% of the gasoline barrel, and to think about a 13 billion gallon market 30 years ago was just unimaginable.
And some of the attacks and some of the challenges for ethanol actually in a way are a compliment because it shows the industry is big enough now, substantial enough, significant enough for people to be aware, take notice, and actually come after it in some ways.
Well, absolutely. I mean, there's always competition for the barrel going to the consumer, and when we started out, we were just sort of the little gnat flying around the room, and I don't think people gave us much notice, and then it was, well, you can have the independent market, and then, well, maybe you can have the Chicago market, and then, well, maybe the Midwest, and then all of a sudden, we're 10% of the gasoline gallon nationwide, and it's now a big business, and it's very important. People are awake that this is a big possibility for the future in terms of growing ethanol. We're looking, down the road at 36 billion gallons, and that's basically 25% of the gallon. So that's huge.
We often talk about how corn-based ethanol is that bridge to the next generation of advanced biofuels and the cellulosic ethanol. That's been slower to come than some would have thought, but what is your assessment of the potential of it and how quickly we might get there?
Well, I think there are certain technologies that may come on quicker than others. We've been fortunate to be exposed to some of these new technologies, and quite frankly, some of them are complementary to corn-based ethanol plants. Being able to break down the fiber and turn it into a fuel while preserving the protein and oil fraction for the food supply is I think, one real opportunity. I really look at it in a holistic frame that the corn-based ethanol has been the foundation of this industry, and it will continue to be very important. We're looking at 15 billion gallons today. I think it'll continue to grow over time with genetics and corn continuing to growing the crop, and then taking that foundation and then moving on to other feedstocks, spreading the economic gain throughout the country with either trees or some other material that can produce ethanol, and till we get to 36 billion gallons. So we need it all, quite frankly.
Yeah, we need it all. You're right. What is the next big one? I mean, we've heard switchgrass, we've heard algae, we've heard municipal waste, we've heard wood chips. Is there any one that you think might jump forward and be that next one that maybe not as big as corn, but could be something along those lines?
I don't think it'll be a single technology. I think some are probably a little more advanced than others. For example, we're working with a company that's looking at municipal waste, and the process that they use is acid hydrolysis, which has been around a long time. It's more of a mechanical process than it is a chemical process, and I think it's got some very near-term opportunities. I think work with sorghum and barley and some of those, they're kind of generating generation 1.5, if you will, and I think we can bring those on fairly quickly. There will be cellulosic projects. I think grasses. It's going to be difficult, I think, to try to switch out any cropland to switchgrass, but in areas where we're not growing crops, you could grow a crop there. I think that's probably a little farther down the road. Obviously, if you have wood chips or some kind of waste product, I think we can probably bring that technology a little quicker. I think things like algae, and they're probably a little farther out.
There's a big difference between what can be done and what can be done and be economically feasible and commercially viable. Those are big differences.
Well, they are, and I think when we look at public policy, for example, we talked about this yesterday. Certainty of market is going to be very important, and so as long as that standard, the RFS, remains intact, and EPA doesn't keep pulling back volumes because they're concerned about supply, and I understand it's a real concern. But if you show that there's going to be a growth market, then I think the technologies that will emerge will be the best technologies. We try not to pick a single technology, and quite frankly, I don't think it's going to be a single technology that's going to move us on. Corn will be the overwhelming lone technology in terms of its volume, but then the next 21 billion gallons will be made up of several different technologies.
Is the key for the ethanol plant in the future being able to handle multiple feedstocks?
You want to be able to handle feedstocks that you can process through the plants. In the case of cellulose, you got fiber in the corn kernel, and it's delivered into the plant very easily. Things like storage, yes, you want to probably bring that in. If you're going to handle multiple feedstocks, they need to be in that same general area that you're drawing your corn in. So yes, I think ways to break down cellulose, no matter what the source is important, but it's got to be probably designed to the region that the plant's located.
Are there still companies, groups out there with plans on the drawing board for ethanol plants, or is that pretty well cooled off?
On the corn-based side, I think it's cooled down quite a bit. I don't see a major expansion in the near term with new plants. I think we'll see some capacity creep as plants try to become more efficient. That's what you do always. So we're in the neighborhood of 200 ethanol plants. Other than some plants that are still under construction and being finished off, I don't see a new wave of corn plants anytime in the next 5 years.
What about going back and modernizing or updating existing plants?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's going to be the real challenge and the capital need is how do I make my facility better? For example, it's important you have DDG, but if you can separate out the byproducts into proteins and oils, they're worth more. And so things like that. How can I reduce energy consumption? How can I increase throughput through the plant and become more efficient? So there will be a lot of projects in that regard.
It still is an emerging technology, an emerging industry, isn't it?
Oh, it is, and it's a great ride. I mean, I think about 30 years, and it's gone by in a blink of an eye, and we're just still a very young industry. And when you look at oil, it's been around for 120, 150 years. We're just really newcomers, teenagers to the market, if you will. And I think the technology gains that we're going to see over the next 10 years, both in the corn side and in the advanced side, are going to be incredible. And I'm just really excited about the future.
Thanks, Ron. Again, congratulations on the award. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you.
Ron Miller with Prisma Advisors out of Pekin, Illinois. And with that, we will wrap things up here for our coverage of the National Ethanol Conference in Phoenix, Arizona. We'll be back in studio tomorrow and hope you will join us right here on AgriTalk, the voice of rural America.